Summer in Austin always arrived with a wave of heat that clung to the air, no matter how many fans or iced teas you threw at it. I was already bracing myself for the long, sticky days when my phone buzzed with a call from my old college friend Melissa. "Linda, I need to ask you a big favor," she said, her voice carrying that nervous edge I knew all too well. She explained that her job was sending her out of the country for 6 weeks, a project she couldn't refuse. The problem? Her 16-year-old son Tyler had just started his summer vacation, and she didn't want to leave him alone or ship him off to relatives he barely knew. "Could he stay with you and your family for the summer?" Melissa asked, almost apologetic. I hesitated for a beat. I had 2 kids of my own, Emma 12 and Josh 9. Adding a teenager into the mix sounded intense. But Melissa had been my rock in college, and I couldn't imagine saying no. "Of course," I said. "We'd love to have him." I told myself it would be fine. A few video games, some pizza nights, maybe a trip to the lake. Nothing I couldn't handle. What I didn't know then was how much Tyler's stay would change not only him, but me and my whole family. When Melissa dropped Tyler off, he looked every bit the classic teenager. Earbuds in, hood up despite the 95-degree weather. Duffel bag slung over his shoulder like it weighed 1,000 pounds. "Hey, Mrs. Carter," he mumbled, barely making eye contact. "It's Linda," I corrected gently, offering a smile. He gave a tiny nod but went right back to scrolling his phone. Emma and Josh were curious but cautious. Emma whispered, "He looks like he doesn't want to be here." Josh, less subtle, asked loudly, "Does he even talk?" I shot Josh a warning look, but Tyler didn't react. That first evening was awkward. At dinner, Tyler barely touched his food, muttering short answers when I asked about school or his hobbies. Afterward, he disappeared into the guest room with his headphones. I sighed, thinking this is going to be a long summer. The next morning, I found Tyler sitting at the kitchen counter, pouring himself cereal. No phone, no headphones. Just him. "Morning," I said, cautiously cheerful. "Morning," he replied. It wasn't much, but it was progress. Later that day, Emma roped him into helping her carry a box of board games out of the garage. To my surprise, Tyler didn't refuse. In fact, he ended up playing Monopoly with Emma and Josh for 2 hours, patiently explaining rules Josh always forgot, and even laughing when Emma beat him by a mile. I watched from the doorway, stunned. The aloof teenager from yesterday had disappeared, replaced by someone who was actually enjoying himself. Maybe this summer wouldn't be so hard after all. One evening, after the kids had gone to bed, I walked past the guest room and froze. Music drifted from behind the door. Not from a speaker, but from a guitar. A soft, intricate melody that filled the hallway. Curious, I knocked lightly. Tyler opened the door, his guitar in hand, looking embarrassed. "Sorry," he muttered. "I didn't mean to bother anyone." "Are you kidding?" I said, amazed. "That was beautiful." He shrugged, but I could see the flicker of pride in his eyes. The next day, Emma begged him to play for us in the living room. At first, he resisted, but eventually he gave in, performing a song he'd written himself. By the end, Josh was clapping wildly, and Emma looked at him like he was some kind of rock star. And in that moment, Tyler wasn't the quiet teenager hiding behind headphones. He was talented, passionate, and full of potential. Of course, not every day was smooth. There were mornings Tyler didn't want to get out of bed until noon. Days when he snapped at Emma for touching his stuff or rolled his eyes at chores. But one particular day stood out. I had asked him to mow the lawn while I took Emma and Josh to the store. When we got back, the lawnmower was sitting in the yard untouched, and Tyler was inside, glued to a video game. "Tyler," I said firmly, "we had an agreement." He groaned. "It's just grass. Why does it matter?" I took a deep breath. Because being part of this family, even for the summer, means pitching in. It's not about the grass. It's about responsibility. He muttered something under his breath, but later that evening, I saw him outside, mowing the lawn. The lines were uneven, and he looked miserable, but he did it. And afterward, when he flopped on the couch, sweaty and tired, I handed him a glass of lemonade. He accepted it with a small, almost sheepish smile. Midway through the summer, we took a trip to Lake Travis. The kids were ecstatic, swimming, fishing, roasting marshmallows by the fire. Tyler surprised me again. He took charge of teaching Josh how to bait a hook, showing patience I didn't know he had. Later, he helped Emma build the biggest sandcastle on the shore, complete with towers and a moat. That night, as we sat around the fire, Tyler pulled out his guitar and played softly while the kids sang along. The flames flickered against his face, and for the first time, I saw him not as Melissa's teenage son I was babysitting, but as a young man growing into himself. And I realized I didn't just like having him around. I was grateful for him. One night, after Emma and Josh had gone to bed, Tyler lingered in the kitchen. "Linda," he said quietly, "can I ask you something?" "Of course," I said, setting down my tea. "Do you think," he hesitated, staring at his hands, "do you think I'm a disappointment to my mom?" My heart ached. "Why would you think that?" "She works so hard," he said. "She's always stressed. And I know I mess up a lot. I don't want her to regret having me." I reached across the table, resting my hand over his. "Tyler, listen to me. You are not a disappointment. Your mom loves you more than anything in this world. She worries, yes. But that's because she wants the best for you. And after seeing you this summer, I can promise you, you have so much to offer." His eyes glistened, and he nodded silently. When Melissa came to pick Tyler up at the end of summer, she braced herself for bad news. "Well," she asked nervously, "how was he?" I laughed. "Different than I expected. And better." Tyler gave me a quick hug before climbing into the car. "Thanks, Linda. For everything." As they drove away, I felt an unexpected pang of sadness. The house felt quieter without him, but I also felt proud. Because that summer, Tyler hadn't just stayed with us, he had grown. And so had I. When Melissa called me later that week, she said, "I don't know what you did, but Tyler's different. He's helping around the house. He even played guitar for me. I haven't heard him do that in years." I smiled, remembering the boy who arrived with his hood up and his earbuds in, and the young man who left with confidence in his step. What I didn't expect was how much joy he'd bring into our lives. How much my kids would adore him. How much he would teach me about patience, about seeing beyond the surface, about believing in someone even when they don't believe in themselves. And that summer, I realized something. Sometimes the people you least expect can leave the biggest mark on your heart.